Christmas is one of the most widely celebrated holidays in the world. Families gather, gifts are exchanged, and lights twinkle in the winter darkness. Many assume it has always been a Christian observance, tied directly to the Bible. But if we look at history, a very different story emerges. This video isn't about emotion or tradition, it's about getting to the truth. So, when did Christmas really begin? And does its origin align with what the Bible actually teaches? Let's find out. In the first centuries after Jesus' life, if you were to ask one of his followers when they celebrated his birthday, they wouldn't have an answer. That's because early Christians did not celebrate his birth. Think about it. There's no command in the Bible to celebrate Jesus' birthday. There's no example of the apostles or the early church doing so. And most importantly, there is no date given anywhere in Scripture for when Jesus was born. Instead, the focus for early believers was on obedience to God's commands, teaching others about the coming kingdom, and remembering Jesus' death, something the Bible explicitly instructs them to do. In that era, celebrating birthdays was a custom commonly associated with pagan rulers and their gods, not with the faithful worship of the one true God. The practice was seen as worldly, not sacred. So if the first Christians weren't celebrating Jesus' birth, what was happening in the world around them, especially in winter? The Roman Empire was deeply pagan, and the winter season was packed with major celebrations tied to nature and the sun. The most famous was Saturnalia, a week-long festival honoring the god Saturn. It was a time of lawlessness, feasting, and exchanging gifts. Another major celebration was the festival of Sol Invictus, which means the unconquerable sun. This was a form of sun worship celebrated around the winter solstice, marking the rebirth of the sun and the return of longer days. December 25th was already a very significant and popular date in the pagan world, long before it had anything to do with Christianity. It was a day of pagan revelry, not Christian worship. This all changed in the 4th century. After centuries of persecution, Christianity was suddenly accepted and then adopted by the Roman Empire. This led to a massive influx of new converts, but many of them were pagans in name only, still clinging to their old customs and traditions. So what did the religious leaders at the time do? They faced a choice: demand that these new converts abandon their pagan practices or find a way to blend them into the church. They chose compromise. Instead of getting rid of popular pagan festivals, they decided to rebrand them. They took the existing celebrations and assigned new, supposedly Christian meanings to them. This is when December 25th, the date of the pagan sun festival, began to be labeled as the day of Jesus' birth. It wasn't a decision based on biblical truth or historical fact, but on cultural convenience to make it easier for pagans to transition into the church. So why was December 25th chosen? As we've seen, the Bible never associates Jesus' birth with this date. In fact, many biblical scholars point out that the details in the book of Luke, like shepherds being in the fields with their flocks at night, make a winter birth highly unlikely. The weather in that region is cold and rainy in December. Shepherds would have brought their flocks in for shelter, so the date had nothing to do with Scripture. The choice of December 25th was strategic. It aligned perfectly with the popular pagan festival celebrating the birth of the sun. The logic was simple. Replace the celebration of the birth of the sun with a celebration of the birth of the sun. This made it easier to attract pagans and made Christianity seem more familiar to them. But in doing so, it built a major Christian holiday on a foundation of pagan sun worship. Now, what about the customs we associate with Christmas today? Things like Christmas trees, festive lights, wreaths, and even exchanging gifts. Where did they come from? If you trace them back, you'll find that these traditions also come from pre-Christian, pagan cultures. Evergreen trees were used in many pagan cultures to symbolize life and rebirth during the dark winter months. They were a reminder that spring would return. Lights and candles were used in winter festivals to honor the sun and to ward off evil spirits. The practice of gift-giving was a central part of Saturnalia. None of these customs were taught by Jesus or his apostles. They weren't part of early Christian worship. They were adopted and absorbed from the pagan cultures that surrounded them. So what does the Bible actually teach about this? Throughout Scripture, there is a consistent and powerful warning against mixing true worship with pagan practices. God repeatedly instructs his people to be separate from the nations around them and not to learn their ways. In Deuteronomy, God explicitly warns Israel not to ask, "How did these nations serve their gods?" I also will do likewise. He calls for pure worship based on his instructions, not on human traditions borrowed from false religions. Jesus himself emphasized this, teaching that true worshipers must worship God in spirit and in truth. He never asked his followers to celebrate his birth. He asked them to follow his teachings, to love one another, and to obey God's commandments. The focus was always on obedience and a changed life, not on observing holidays. Knowing the true origins of Christmas leads us to an important question. If a celebration is rooted in pagan worship and is not commanded in Scripture, should true Christians observe it? The Bible's message is clear. Obedience is more important than tradition. God is not pleased when people take pagan customs and try to honor him with them. True followers of Christ are called to reject practices rooted in false worship and to follow God's instructions alone. Even when it means going against popular culture or cherished family traditions, it's a choice between what is popular and what is true. Truth matters. And for those who seek to follow the Bible, obedience matters more than tradition. Thanks for watching.